Nevertheless, we did learn a few things last night anyway. It's hard not to learn when you watch Joe Biden try and speak for an hour and a half. At one point, an activist told Joe Biden that she's got an 8-year-old transgender daughter, 8 years old, a second grader. She asked Joe Biden what he thought about that. Here's how he responded.
The idea that an 8-year-old child or a 10-year-old child decides, you know, I decided I want to be transgender. That's what I think I'd like to be. It'll make my life a lot easier. There should be zero discrimination. And what's happening is too many transgender women of color are being murdered. They're being murdered. I mean, I think it's up to now 17. Don't hold me to that number.
Okay. So if an 8-year-old biological boy decides one day that he's really a girl, that's final. And you'd have to be a bigot to pause and say, wait a minute, you're 8 years old, you're a small child. Maybe let's think about this for a minute. That's what a normal person who has kids would say. People with kids know that children grow and change. They change their minds about a lot of things, including themselves. That's the reality of it. But if you're a crazed ideologue, you don't care about reality. So you would tell the rest of us that an 8-year-old is entitled to hormone therapy on demand and permanent life-altering surgery if he/she demands it. That's what Biden is telling us. It doesn't matter how fashionable talk like this is right now, and it is very fashionable. It is crazy, and it's destructive, and it's having a profound effect. No one wants to say it, but it's true. We know that between 2016 and 2017, the number of gender surgeries for biological females in this country quadrupled in 1 year. We also know that many people who get those surgeries regret them later, deeply regret them. We have a lot more data on that, but universities are actively punishing researchers who follow that line of inquiry. So much for science. In the end, mania like this will end. The left is at war with nature. Inevitably, they will lose that war because nature always prevails. But in the meantime, so much damage, so many children being hurt irreparably. Biden doesn't care. It's the new thing, and so he's for it, whatever it takes.
Question this segment, and it comes from Mika Hack. She's from State College, Pennsylvania. This is your first presidential election that you're voting.
Yes.
Hi, Mika. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm the proud mom of 2 girls, 8 and 10. My youngest daughter is transgender. The Trump administration has attacked the rights of transgender people, banning them from military service, weakening non-discrimination protections, and even removing the word transgender from some government websites. How will you, as president, reverse this dangerous and discriminatory agenda and ensure that the lives and rights of LGBTQ people are protected under U.S. law?
I will flat out just change the law. Eliminate those executive orders, number one. You may recall, I'm the guy who said, I was raised by a man who, I remember I was being dropped off. My dad was a high school educated, well-read man who was a really decent guy, and I was being dropped off to get an application in the center of our city, Wilmington, Delaware, the corporate capital of the world at the time. And these 2 men, I'm getting out to get an application to be a lifeguard in the African-American community because there was a big swimming pool complex. And these 2 men, well-dressed, leaned up and hugged one another and kissed one another. And I'm getting out of the car at the light, and I turned to my dad. My dad looked at me and said, Joey, it's simple. They love each other. The idea that an 8-year-old child or a 10-year-old child decides, you know, I decided I want to be transgender. That's what I think I'd like to be. It'll make my life a lot easier. There should be zero discrimination. And what's happening is too many transgender women of color are being murdered. They're being murdered. I mean, I think it's up to now 17. Don't hold me to that number, but it's higher now.
Yeah.
And that's just this year. And so I promise you, there is no reason to suggest that there should be any right denied your daughter or daughters, whichever, if 1 or 2, your daughter, that your other daughter has a right to be and do. None, zero. And by the way, my son Bo passed away, was the Attorney General of the state of Delaware. He was the guy who got the first transgender law passed in the state of Delaware, and because of a young man who became a woman who worked for him in the Attorney General's office.
We've got one more segment coming up. Thank you.